What is up, guys? It's Doxine. So today I'll be making a video on which button layout in Modern Warfare is best for you. I will be pinning a comment of all the timestamps of each button layout if you want to check out a specific one. Let's get into it. So I'll be listing pros and cons about each button layout for controller. Sadly, I cannot make a keyboard version of this just because the keyboard one is way more versatile and probably will never be honestly able to explain which one's best for you. It's just like, yeah. So we will be going over the first one, which is default. Default is obviously, hence its name, the default layout that you get when you first join Call of Duty Modern Warfare. As you look at the controls, you have jump, you have X as jump / mantle, circle as crouch prone slide, and square as use / reload. Let's just you guys can just read all of this. It would probably take too long for me to read every one. So just pause the video if you want to look at each of them. So I'd say for non-claw, the cons and pros, right? We're just going to talk about non-claw first. For non-claw, it's okay. I would say you will not be able to jump and aim at the same time. You will not be able to crouch and aim at the same time. You will not be able to do many things and aim at the same time, which is kind of a downside. For claw, maybe it's a little bit, it's okay, like it's way better than if you were to do non-claw. I would say you're pretty much able to do, yeah, you're pretty much able to be fine on claw since you're able to claw the action buttons and aim at the same time, so it'd be okay. Like paddles, I would say you're also alright because you could pretty much just program a circle to one of the paddles, etc., etc. So default, I would say, is okay. Now we're gonna go over the pros and cons. Pros is that if you're not really willing to actually learn, like maybe you only play this game once in a while because maybe you have a job, or you just pretty much don't have enough time to learn any of the other presets, then yeah, I would say this is okay. Cons is that, as I said, you won't be able to aim, or at least as non-claw, you won't be able to aim, and you won't be able to jump and aim, crouch and aim, and etc., etc. So I would say default maybe 7 out of 10, just because it's pretty much good for all the other ones except non-claw. So anyways, let's get into it. Tactical. Okay. Tactical is pretty much, it's the same exact thing except you switch crouch to R3 and melee to circle. If you're a big melee person and you play non-claw, I maybe don't suggest you having this per se. But other than that, because if you want to go for crazy melee plays, and I don't really think that this is the good thing for you if you're non-claw. But I would say at the same time for non-claw, it's amazing because you're able to crouch and aim at the same time. You're able to do slide cancels amazingly. You're able to you can just do drop shots amazingly. It still has the same downsides, except a little bit less in this case. You still have to, you can't jump and aim unless, or you can't jump and aim pretty much, which that's one less than default, but yeah. And then for claw, I would say perfectly fine, just amazing, yeah. For paddles, I would say, yeah, it's okay too. So I would say maybe 8 out of 10. The only reason, I would rate it one more better just because you're able to drop shot and slide cancel way better than you can on default. So yeah. Lefty. So lefty's a little bit strange. It's not really a ethical type. Like, it's not really like one that you would actually usually think of. You switch melee to L3 and you actually sprint with R3, which that could take extremely hard. It would be extremely hard to get used to. It, like, in my opinion, I would never switch to this. But hey, if for some reason you like to sprint with R3, go ahead. This is the build. This is the preset for you. I would say it's 6 out of 10 just because how you sprint is kind of weird. But at the same time, if you like that, then by any means, go ahead. I'm not stopping you. So for the next one, we have Nomad Charlie. So for Nomad Charlie, it pretty much makes it to where you have L1 to use tactical equipment, right, normal. L2 to use lethal equipment, and then R2 to fire weapon, R1 to aim down sight. So what's weird about this, as you can tell, is that you pretty much have your lethals, right? Usually you would have your lethal as L1, R1, right? But you have it as L1 and L2. So it's pretty much, instead of going horizontal, it makes it go vertical, which can be like a little strange, and it's not terrible by any means. For me, it would just be weird, or like at least incredibly strange, to aim down sights and shoot at the same time. Just for me, just cause like how I'm like used to it. But overall, it's not really that bad of a preset. I would say maybe, if I were to rate this, maybe 6.3. The cons for it would be that it's a little bit weird to adjust to. Just like a lot of them. For instance, Lefty and Nomad Charlie. Their cons are hard to get used to, but the pros may be that if you have trouble, or maybe if you just feel like L1 and R1 to like, for like lethal, like maybe if you don't like the lethal as like R1, and maybe you want it to like, you want to have like both access, like equipments, like buttons on one side, and then the R like to like the shoot, the combat type controls on the right, then this is your preset. So now we have the Nomad Charlie Tactical, which is pretty much the exact same thing as Tactical, or it's pretty much the exact same thing as Nomad Charlie, except you have Crouch as R3. Just saying, just a little tip, if any of them have Tactical in them, it just means that you have it to crouch. Like you just have R3 to crouch. Yeah, so honestly, that would probably make the case a little bit better. Probably I would give it a 6. I would give it a 7. Maybe just because it just has crouch. It has like the crouch, so it's pretty much on par with the default if you just like how the preset is. So anyways, let's get into the next one. Nomad Charlie Lefty. Okay. Oh god, we just keep on going deeper into the rabbit hole. So it's pretty much the exact same thing as Nomad Charlie, except L3 melee, R3 sprint, you know how Lefty is. And then except you have the L1, except it's pretty much just the combat controls and equipment controls are inverted, because now the tactical equipment's R1 and the lethal is R2, and then the L1 is aim down sight, and then the L2 is fire weapon. So yeah, I would say the cons would be that it may seem, just like with Lefty and Nomad Charlie, just in general, it would be extremely hard to adjust to. Honestly, practically all the ones except basic ones like default and tactical are hard to get used to. But some are easier than others, definitely. And this is one of the hard ones, just because it's a lot of stuff to, yeah, get used to. So, pretty much, right? use lethal equipment. I would say this is uh a 6. It's pretty much just like Nomad Charlie, except it's a little bit weirder. But otherwise than that, I would say the exact same thing. Oh god, sorry, I heard that for some reason. Yeah. So the Nomad Charlie lefty, the pros for it would be maybe just like the same things that if you want L1 to L2 to shoot, or R2 to shoot, perfect for you. Pretty much same with like R3 to sprint, L1. If you pretty much just like playing like a little bit different from how the normal is, then perfect for you, honestly. Give it a try if you like that. Bumper jumper. Okay, so for bumper jumper, we have X to use tactical equipment. We have, it's pretty much just where you switch, and you know how L1 would usually be tactical equipment? It is jump. And you know how X would usually be jump? It's tactical equipment. I would say it's not that hard to get used to. It's probably one of the easier ones to get used to out of all the Nomad Charlies that we've had to go through. But yeah, so I like this one personally a little bit more than all the other ones, just because I feel like for like X isn't really that bad as a tactical equipment. It depends on how you feel about it. I think it's not that bad. And yeah, the pros would be that maybe you could jump while you're aiming. You could you could just jump while you're aiming. It's really good. Makes it where it's incredibly nice. It's incredibly smooth to jump shot, cause just like it's not like you can actually fully aim in all the time. So yeah, I would say this is a 7.4, 7.5, yeah, 7.5, just because it gives you a little bit of a competitive edge compared to all the other ones that like are below 7.5, just because you're able to jump like in jump shot without having to do that. Bumper jumper tactical. This is this one, bumper jumpers keep on getting even better, because now we have the exact same thing except with crouch as R3. That's just amazing, because right, you can crouch, you can slide cancel, right, perfectly without having to like, you could crouch slide with aiming, like while aiming. You can jump, you could do jump shots while aiming, you could do drop shots while aiming. Just perfect. I love this. I just love this one, me personally. I would give this honestly about like 9, just because how like amazing it is, because it just pretty much just gives you so much accessibility, and just pretty much just makes it have like, it's a little bit advantageous. Pretty much it's just spectacular. One-handed gunslinger. So this one, it's pretty much practically the same, except you use R2 as lethal equipment. It's pretty much right. Use R2 as use lethal equipment, and R1 as use tactical equipment, and then L2 as aim down sight. It's practically Nomad Charlie lefty, except you don't have to use R to sprint. I would say if you like the whole lefty type thing, except you just don't want to sprint with R3, then yeah, this is good for you. I would say this is about maybe the same thing as the Nomad Charlie lefty. So that's like the pros and cons. So the cons is that it's hard. Obviously, it's hard to adjust to. God, it's like I sound like a broken record, but that's like, there's not really specifically any cons other than the ones that like you don't have. For pretty much all the ones that don't have crouch as R3, or don't have like where you're able to like jump shot, drop shot, slide cancel while aiming, those are all cons for every single one that doesn't have that type of stuff. So I'm not gonna like keep on, oh god, actually no, nothing I should. Yeah, for all these except the tactical and all of them except, yeah, the clip went out. The clip it stopped. So as I was saying, pretty much all of them except the bumper jumper, like all of them except tactical and just normal bumper jumper, pretty much have it like disadvantages because of like aiming and doing specific mechanics. So anyways, yeah, that's pretty much, yeah, the pros is that if you feel comfortable with this, by any means, go with it. You don't specifically have to like change how you like. But anyways, we're going to do stick and move. So stick and move has it to where you have R3 as jump, and then everything else is the same except you have R3 as jump and then X as melee. So there's a lot of games, like, God, I hate this game so much, but I'm just gonna mention it. Fortnite, where some people like R to jump. If you're probably coming from that, you might, I say might, enjoy this. But yeah, so the melee is pretty much, it's kind of in a weird spot. It's just not really where you think a melee would honestly be in your wildest dreams. But it's okay. I would say probably, yeah, if you like this, I would say pretty much a 7, like, I would just say, yeah, a 7. Just because, like, yeah, so you will be able to do jump shots pretty good with this, but crouch shots, slide cancels, drop shots, not really. Just like with a lot of them, like bumper jumper too, like, yeah. You kind of want one where you can like have like a comfortable jump, but then you also like, you just like find it comfortable in general, and just like all like the button placement. That's all you want to go for pretty much. But yeah, at the end of the day, if you consider learning one of these, they're all definitely fine. Not, at the end of the day, like, not one's better than the other. Well, yes, actually, no, never mind. No, like, they actually are sometimes better. But if you play in a lot of cases, if you play claw and paddles, like one of the two, all these won't really make a specific difference, like on like aiming, like for instance, like slide cancel, like stuff like that. But if you're talking about non-claw, how you like choose your button layout is incredibly crucial. So yeah. Anyways, we're gonna be going to Brawler. Brawler makes it to where it just switches. If you play like fighting games, usually they might have like R1 as melee. They usually have L1, R1 as melee, but because there's not 2 different melees, you only have R1 as melee, and then it switches R3, use like lethal equipment, which honestly that's kind of good if you maybe like play like games like pretty much like Mortal Kombat, stuff like that, because that's actually how the layout is. Usually R3 can be like a special, it can be like a specific like part of a move that's crucial. Same with R1, but like R1's kind of like a punching type thing for like a lot of games like Gang Beasts and stuff like that. So yeah, cons, it's pretty much the exact same thing. You switch up those. I wouldn't say, it just has pretty much, oh my god, all of these, they're pretty much honestly the same, except they just have different like parts that just make it different. So for like a lot of them that maybe have like some of the action buttons as like jump or crouch, won't be that affected for non-claw, like won't be very good for non-claw, but like yeah. So we're gonna be going for the last one, Beast. Now this one seems a bit different compared to the Brawler one. You still have the melee, use lethal equipment as R1 and R3, except you switch up jump / mental and use tactical equipment. So it's pretty much like a bumper jumper mixed with a brawler. If like Brawler and bumper jumper had a baby, that's what it would be. So honestly, it's good. Like the jump mantle, it's pretty much good. Like I love how it, like you can access it pretty good. So I would say, I know I'm getting like cons. I would say would be crouch, like you won't be able to slide cancel, like drop shot that easily. But other than that, it's good if you like how like it is. At the end of the day, it's just pretty much how much you like it. If you think you're cool while you're playing a specific one, if you want to go for it, then go for it. By any means, this is not saying which, like, 100% whatever one I think is the best, you have to go. Because it's pretty much everybody has their own, like, personal opinion, like, personal preference. But yeah, this is how I'm going to be putting the rankings. So for this part, at least, we have 7, I would say 8, I would say, like, 7, I would say 7, like, I would say probably 7.5, 6.5, 8, well, no, we'll go 7.5, and then with this, that's an 8.5, one-hand gunslinger, I would say 7, stick and move, 7.3, I would say. Brawler, I would say 7, and Beast, I would say 7.4. So yeah, at the end of the day though, don't take it from me. You can, like, even though, let's say Bumper Jumper Tactical is the best out of all of them, that doesn't mean that everybody in the entire world has to go for it. Whatever one you like, whether you like Bumper Jumper, One-Hand Gunslinger, Beast, even Stick and Move, it's completely personal preference. But there's a whole different side. There's flips, which, how you access flip is by pressing square on, as you see, that. So yeah, let's go over this. I'm trying to go this, like, I'm gonna try to go fast. Pretty much the exact same thing, except you use L1 and R1 to aim down sights and shoot, and then use tactical equipment and R2 as lethal equipment. I would say this is a, in my opinion, 7.5, just because you're able to access the R1 and L1, just because, like, it's a little bit faster than the triggers, so I like that. Tactical flipped, I would say it's obviously the exact same thing, except you, like, is it L1, R1? Just think of every single, practically, I say practically, every single one the same, except they maybe just have, like, different, like, quirks, like aim down sight behavior, and then fire weapon, stuff like that. So I would say this is a 8? I would say this is about an 8.4, 8.5. Yeah, 8.5. Lefty, I would say a 7. I would say like a 7.4. Or just honestly just still 7, just because it's kind of the exact same. It's kind of like Charlie, like it's kind of like the Charlie, kind of like the Charlie lines. Nomad Charlie. It's just like, it's like lefty. So yeah, I would say this is a 7 too. I would say this is a 7.4. I would say this is a, I would say this is a 7. Bumper Jumper flipped, I would say we're gonna bump this up to about, I would say like an 8.2. Bumper Jumper Tactical. This is the one that I played, Bumper Jumper Tactical flipped. I love it. And I'm trying my best not to be biased. And this isn't even a biased opinion. But I would say this is roughly the best of all of them, in my opinion. I'm gonna give this a 9, just because I feel like the accessibility is flawless on this. It's amazing. I love everything that's on this. One-Hand Gunslinger flipped, I would say, is pretty much 8, 7. Stick and move flipped, I would say I would say a 7.3. pretty much anyone that has R1 as a fire weapon, like, is just a little bit better just because you're able to activate it faster. And L1 and R1, like, just really good. But I would say honestly the most important one's R1 as fire weapon. It's like that's like pretty much will bump up their score in general. Beast or Brawler, the R1 fire weapon, just love it. I would say it's about 7.3. And then the Beast, I like this one a lot more than it did before, just because it has L2 jump. It's pretty much those three: aim down sight, or actually four: tactical equipment, aim down sight behavior, R/fire weapon, or R1 fire weapon. Just those four: jump mantle, fire weapon, aim down sight behavior, and tactical equipment are very familiar with me since I use bumper jump or tactical flip. So I just like that. I just like it like even better. I would say a 7.7. And yeah, that will be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe if you think that like this was a good video. And if you have any constructive like criticism, like anything that you feel like I did maybe not very well, or maybe something that I did good, please drop it down in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. Honestly, I don't really care whatever like you guys think. I will take that into consideration just because I'm trying to make your life like easier for Call of Duty. So it's not really whatever I think. So yeah. Anyways, that'll be the end of the video. Peace.